Developing right now on Morning News Now, clashes and controversy dividing the nation. In Minneapolis, more protests following that deadly shooting during a federal immigration raid. This morning, the White House defending the ICE agent who shot and killed a 37-year-old woman as state and local officials sound off about the FBI taking over the investigation.
I can believe that her death is a tragedy while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making.
People in positions of power have already passed judgment. Now that Minnesota has been taken out of the investigation, it feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome.
Now, the fallout and the protests spreading far beyond city lines. And developing news out of the Pacific Northwest, 2 people shot by a Border Patrol agent in Portland. We will bring you the latest. Also developing this morning, standing down, President Trump calling off a second wave of strikes in Venezuela nearly 1 week after the attack that led to the capture of the country's leader. Also today, the president set to host major U.S. oil companies at the White House to talk about tapping Venezuelan oil reserves. We'll have an update from Washington. And signs of progress on Capitol Hill as House lawmakers pass a bill to extend federal health care subsidies. More on the vote, plus what's next and what it could mean for millions of Americans. And emergency in space. This morning, NASA working to bring one of its astronauts home from the International Space Station. What we know about the medical scare that's forcing an early end to their mission.
Another space drama, second year in a row where we've experienced something like this happening up in space. Good morning. Good to have you with us on what has been a busy news week. I'm Joe Fryer.
No kidding, but you made it to Friday. Thanks for starting your day with us. I'm Savannah Sellers. We are going to begin this morning with a shooting involving federal agents in Portland, Oregon. 2 people were injured after a Border Patrol agent shot them in their vehicle outside a hospital yesterday afternoon. The Department of Homeland Security is defending the agent, claiming self-defense. In a statement, the department said the driver tried to run agents over during a targeted vehicle stop. Local police said they can't verify those claims since they responded after the incident occurred.
It is the second high-profile ICE incident this week. In Minnesota, the outrage is growing after Wednesday's deadly shooting of a U.S. citizen. 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good was shot by an ICE officer through the windshield of her car. The administration also argues this was self-defense. Protesters disagree. For days now, they've been taking to the streets near the scene, demanding ICE leave the city.
We don't want you. You have no right to be here. You're destroying our communities. Just leave.
ICE is tearing us apart. They're making people disappear. They're not following the law. And that's not Minnesota.
We have a retired police captain standing by with analysis on these incidents. Let's begin, though, with NBC News senior Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley. Julia, good morning. Start by telling us more about what happened in Portland and how the administration's responding there.
Well, yes, Joe, this was just developing late yesterday afternoon, evening time, East Coast, where Border Patrol, according to DHS, Border Patrol encountered these 2 individuals. They said the passenger was a target of their operation there. And they said that the passenger was affiliated with a prostitution ring run by Tren de Aragua. That's that Venezuelan gang you've heard so much about from President Trump, even going back to the campaign. And then they said the driver of the vehicle is believed to be part of the gang. It doesn't sound like he was the original target. But then they said the driver weaponized his vehicle. Very similar language to what we heard coming out of Minneapolis, and that the Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots. At first we heard 1 shot. Now it sounds like they're saying it was multiple shots. And then by the time Portland police got involved, they were responding to 2 people. It looked like it was about 4 to 5 minutes later who had been victims of gunshot wounds. So that's when they come into the picture to try to administer care. They took them to the hospital and their conditions remain unknown. So we cannot yet call this a fatal shooting. We don't know the status of those individuals in the car. But obviously a lot of parallels being drawn back to Minneapolis, where DHS again saying these people are using their vehicles as weapons against agents and officers. And then again, you've got local officials saying, hold on, things are getting out of control here, and this wouldn't have happened if we didn't have the presence of these federal agents in our cities.
And then in Minneapolis, Julia, outrage has continued to grow after Renee Nicole Good, who was a U.S. citizen, was shot and killed by an ICE officer. Protesters, as you're seeing on your screen right now, have been gathered blocks from the scene since the incident on Wednesday. Tell us more about what's happening on the ground.
Yeah, and Savannah, I think a big difference, obviously, between these two is that Renee Good was not the target of an ICE operation. In fact, there's a lot of questions, depending on who's looking at this video and from what angle, about whether or not she was waving these ICE officers around her. That's what a lot of these witnesses on the ground say, and that's what a lot of the people who were showing up at these visuals. Just yesterday, there were 11 people arrested in Portland by DHS for what they said was rioting and behavior and attempting to assault officers again. Now, this is, of course, a Minneapolis mayor is calling on ICE to get the F out of his city in no uncertain terms, because they think that it's just further escalating tensions. But Secretary Noem says they are not backing down. They are not changing operations in Minneapolis, and they continue to have Border Patrol presence, as well as over 2,000 extra ICE officers that have been brought into Minneapolis just this week. Savannah.
And Julia, we are learning more about the ICE officer who shot Good, including an incident that happened involving a vehicle last year. What more are we learning?
That's right. We learned that in June of last year, this officer was involved in an arrest in Bloomington, Minnesota, where they were going after a target in a vehicle. And that person, that suspect, started to drive away when this officer's arm was through the back windshield. He had basically broken the glass in order to try to get to this person who wouldn't open his car. His arm got stuck between a car seat and the car frame, and he was dragged 50 to 100 yards. The suspect was later charged with assault on a federal officer. But this officer also has more than 10 years of experience. He's not part of this new hiring push by ICE to try to get 10,000 new officers on the street. And he was actually part of a special response team that receives extra training from ICE.
The FBI is leading the investigations in both Portland and Minneapolis. Do we know where things stand in either this morning?
We don't know where things stand in either of those this morning, but of course, a lot of blowback coming from Minneapolis officials and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who wants his own state investigators to be part of that investigation and not just leave it up to the federal government. He's worried, especially because people in the Trump administration have already cast their own judgment on what happened here before the investigation. So he doesn't feel that the federal investigators can be impartial. In this instance, we do know that state and local police and those investigators in Minnesota were blocked out of getting evidence from the scene or any witness interviews. They're completely cut out of that investigation. In Portland, they say that their police are investigating what happened, and we'll see as that story develops throughout the day if FBI makes any moves to cut local police in Portland out of the details of that investigation.
All right, Julia, a lot to cover this morning. Thank you so much.
For more on this, let's bring in former NYPD Captain John Monahan. John, good morning. Thank you very much for being with us today. So the Trump administration is defending both of these shootings, calling them acts of self-defense. Can you explain to us when use of force like this is warranted at a vehicle stop?
In the conditions that you see on that video, if the cop, it really depends on the perspective of the officer. Now, the courts have decided, and most police departments have implemented the policy that states, it used to state, don't fire if someone will be unnecessarily endangered or other reasons. And they changed it to say, if in the professional judgment of the officer. There's a lot of people looking at the video and passing judgment. It's meaningless. It's the judgment of the experienced officer who's standing in front of the car at that moment. That's the perspective it has to be judged from. It's difficult. The first shot obviously went directly through that windshield, means she was coming right at him. He was so far in front of that vehicle, he's not even in the video clip initially. It's a very difficult situation. You know, they talk about the investigation and local departments being cut out of it. The facts are in. There are no more facts. It's just a matter of scrutiny at this point. And again, you've got to take the perspective of the officer standing in front of the car. It's troubling. Portland in particular is troubling to me in a number of ways. First is, this is not a protester. This is a violent gang member. Why? How are we supporting that over law enforcement? That's frightening to me. The rift that's being caused between the people that we serve and law enforcement, be they federal or state or local, is frightening. And it reminds me of so many trends that took place in recent years, BLM and defund the police. They're prompting people to disrespect law enforcement. Listen, as a uniformed cop, you stand in front of a person's vehicle, there's an expectation there that they would stop. The other thing in Portland is this possible gang member, as is being reported, feels free to flee the scene where a federal officer shot him and then call 911 to get help from local officers. This rift is not just going out to the protesters and those who want to disrespect law enforcement, but the perpetrators themselves are starting to buy into the idea. That's pretty frightening. And the other thing is, in the Portland case, I'll tell you this about police training and habits. In 1972, in New York City, we started what became a national trend. And we barred our officers from firing in a moving vehicle, except in extreme circumstances. And police shootings in New York City dropped precipitously, and it became a standard across the country. We have very few shootings in New York City at moving vehicles. It's very rare. Not all jurisdictions have as strict a rule as we do. The law allows for this. Every penal law says the same thing. You feel that you're in imminent danger of your life, you're free to fire. You're justified to use deadly force at that point. But then police policy restricts it further. Most policies do say don't shoot at a moving vehicle, but then there's a caveat, an exception. It says unless you feel your life is endangered.
Captain, I'm going to cut in here because we're tight on time. I think one of the questions people have is we're seeing these incidents involving vehicles when federal authorities come into cities. It's creating tension, and obviously we're seeing incidents unfold. Is there anything we can do, the federal government can do, local authorities can do, to try and reduce things like this from happening?
I'll tell you what, like all police work, all use of force, so much of it depends on the subject that we're approaching. When ICE approached that woman or approached that gang member, their first order of business is not to use force. It's to gain compliance. So much of police work and the use of force depends on the subject's actions. I hate to say it, but yeah, you can gain compliance. Simply when an ICE officer shows up, have respect for the fact that he represents the laws of the nation, and then there's not going to be a use of force incident. That's what it takes, at the basics of it. And it could be retraining. You know what? Take the NYPD, which is the gold standard in police policy and procedure. It truly is. We're the largest department in the nation. Take our standard and train your people on it. And maybe they'll stop shooting at moving cars. There's other ways to catch people. Box them in, get a good notation on their description, and catch them another time. There are other ways of doing it. Maybe follow our lead on that.
Former New York Police Department Captain John Monahan, thank you very much for your time and expertise this morning.
President Trump says he has canceled a second wave of attacks on Venezuela. In a social media post overnight, the president said the U.S. and Venezuela were, quote, working well together and that a new round of strikes will not be needed.
It comes as Venezuela's interim president led a ceremony yesterday paying tribute to those killed in last weekend's U.S. attack, which led to the capture of leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Venezuela's interior minister says at least 100 people were killed in those U.S. strikes. Well, later today, Mr. Trump is due to host the heads of major oil companies at the White House to discuss how best to tap Venezuela's vast oil reserves. It is something the president discussed on Fox News yesterday as well. Take a listen.
We're going to rebuild the oil and the oil infrastructure. We'll be in charge of it. It's going to do great and make a lot of money. And we're going to take it from there. We've taken $4 billion worth of oil in one day, and that'll increased. We're going to have it rebuilt. All the big oil companies are coming in. They're going to make a lot of money, and Venezuela's going to get some of that money, and we're going to get some of that money.
All right, NBC News Chief International Correspondent Keir Simmons joins us now with more on this. Clearly right now for President Trump, it's not about the military, it is about the oil right now. So talk about what we're learning
that's what
about.
he's talking about.
Yeah, at least what he's saying. Is talk about the Trump administration's plans and what we can expect from this meeting then later on.
So President Trump has talked about 50 million barrels of oil that the U.S. will get. If you like, as you heard him there, talking about kind of splitting the revenue. It's not clear exactly what he means by that. Chevron is the only U.S. oil company right now with operations in Venezuela, or the ability, or some way ahead, if you like, on all of this. They're going to meet with President Trump. I suspect what they're going to say to him, and they may choose their language carefully, what they're going to say to him is that the Venezuelan oil industry needs an enormous amount of investment. It's a lot of money you have to put in to get the oil out because there hasn't been investment. And what do executives need when they are going to invest large amounts of their money? They need stability, and they need to know what the future looks like. And those things aren't there yet in Venezuela. So it'll be an interesting meeting. Clearly, President Trump thinks this is central to his plans. but this is business, and those executives are going to be going in there with their business's interests front of mind.
One of the other things we want to ask you about that's happening on the ground here, Venezuelan officials say they're releasing many political prisoners. They're just describing this as this gesture of peace. Walk us through how this came to be and who it is being freed.
So not just Venezuelan nationals, Spanish nationals too, 5 have been released, and one of them is a well-known human rights campaigner. The acting president's brother, who is overseeing these releases, talks about it as an important number of people who are being released. President Trump saying that this is an important indication that the Venezuelan regime is kind of playing along with what he wants to see happening.
We know tensions have also been high with Colombia and its president, though things maybe cooled off a little bit after a phone call between the two leaders. What happened?
An extraordinary thing. The two of them had a conversation, and President Trump says he liked the tone. They were, really at loggerheads prior to that, and then one phone call, and he's inviting the Colombian president to the White House. It's the kind of thing we've seen before with President Trump, right? Just think about Zelensky, for example. President Trump ends up in a fight with the leader, and then they have a conversation, and then President Trump talks about resolving it. I think the White House would say that some of the things that they wanted are being met by Colombia, by the Colombian leader, President Petro, and so therefore they are willing to move forward.
All right. Keir Simmons, a lot to cover. Thank you so much.
Great to have you here on set with us again. Well, in Washington, the Senate advanced a bipartisan measure yesterday that is intended to block the Trump administration from conducting further military action in Venezuela. The Senate voted 52 to 47, with 5 Republicans joining the Democrats to support that bill, which would prevent those future military deployments to Venezuela without congressional approval. For more, let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin. Julie, good morning. Always great to see you. What exactly does this measure, it's known as a War Powers Resolution, say? Does this have real power here? Is it just symbolic? How does this move forward?
Well, in theory, it does have real power, Savannah, especially now that the Senate has advanced it, because what it does is essentially reaffirm Congress's role in declaring any kind of act of war. And in this case, specific to Venezuela, this prevents the Trump administration from taking further action inside or around Venezuela unless Congress explicitly approves it. This was a notable vote. 5 Republicans voted with Democrats to push it forward. But what makes it symbolic is that the House would have to take it up as well, even if this passes in the Senate next week. We don't know how the House plans to vote on this, but Speaker Johnson has said that he's very supportive of the president, and then, of course, the president could veto this, even if it does pass both chambers.
Reaction here from the White House.
Yeah, so the president is pushing back. He put out a Truth Social post almost immediately railing against, you see it there, the 5 Republicans who voted for this bill. I talked to several of them afterwards. He said that they shouldn't even run for re-election. They should never be re-elected, the president said to the Senate. Josh Hawley and Ron Paul immediately started complimenting the president, saying that they agree with almost everything he does, but on this matter, they wanted to reaffirm congressional powers. We also heard from the vice president yesterday. Take a listen.
It's not going to change anything about how we conduct foreign policy over the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, and that'll continue to be how we approach things.
So essentially, the White House here is saying we don't really care how Congress votes on this. We're going to keep executing however we want to execute our foreign policy. And by the way, it's not just this administration, Savannah. Congress has really eroded its power, its Article 1 powers to declare war in both administrations, Democratic and Republican, over the last several years.
Julie, another major development in the House yesterday where we saw Republicans joining Democrats once again, in fact, 17 of them. This was to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies by 3 years. This was at the crux of that major government shutdown. We know that Americans have felt those prices skyrocket. Do we know when that will head to the Senate, and do we think it's got bipartisan support there as well?
Well, now it's headed to the Senate because it did pass in the House. 17 Republicans joining Democrats in passing. That is no small feat. Remember how this happened to begin with. Republicans in the House, some of them at least, moderates, especially from districts that Democrats won in the last election, they were really frustrated that their party had no plan forward to address these subsidies, which have now expired, causing these premiums to spike for about 22 million Americans. They decided to essentially join Democrats in forcing Speaker Johnson's hand to vote on this 3-year extension. The thing is, though, the Senate already tried this last month. Only 4 Republicans voted for it then, and that's why we expect this to go absolutely nowhere. But there are bipartisan talks taking place. Bipartisan group of lawmakers in the House and the Senate met for an hour yesterday. I'm told they're very close to having bill text potentially early next week. Their plan would extend those subsidies for 2 years. Republicans I talked to in that group say that is a must right now because their constituents are already facing sticker shock. Some even dropped their health insurance altogether. But it also importantly does reform the ACA subsidies. That is what Republican leadership, at least in the Senate, said they needed. It puts income caps on. It does allow health savings accounts to be used. This is the current form of the draft, but that's still progress, Savannah.
All right, Julie Sirkin, thank you.
Authorities in Iran have shut down the internet, hoping to quell protests that have intensified there over the past few days. The protests began a few weeks ago. They initially focused on the economy, but have since turned deadly, with some protesters chanting slogans against the country's leadership. NBC News correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian joins us now with the latest. So Danielle, walk us through what's been happening in Iran and some of the steps authorities are trying to take there to suppress the protests.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. An internet blackout continues to be in place all across Iran today. And when the country is offline, that means getting information to the outside world in real time is a lot more difficult. Cell phone videos cannot be shared by protesters quite as easily. And we can't see what's unfolding on the streets of Iran. The trigger for these protests you mentioned is the economy, which is collapsing. The Iranian currency crashed against the U.S. dollar this week, but now the protests are rapidly growing, and it has become very much political. Protesters are chanting things like death to the dictator. The blackout coincides with calls from abroad for more protests by Reza Pahlavi, for example. He's the son of Iran's last Shah, who was toppled back in 1979. Pahlavi posting, "The eyes of the world are upon you. Take to the streets." He is a significant opposition figure. He has some supporters in Iran, though it's unclear just how popular he is. 60% of the population there is under the age of 40. They've seen the rest of the world evolve over the years as their country has had to endure crippling sanctions, restrictive social and religious policies, especially for women, and so many want Iranians to have the same rights and freedoms as people abroad have.
You know, Danielle, we don't have reporters on the ground there, so we rely on eyewitnesses. What are we hearing from those eyewitnesses on the ground about what's happening?
Yeah, getting in touch with them is very difficult for now. You can't call, you can't WhatsApp or text message. One eyewitness we've been speaking to gave us an idea of what it was like in Tehran, the capital, telling us that people have been lining up outside grocery stores. They're stocking up, not knowing what is going to happen in the next few days and weeks. Activists tell us there are hundreds of thousands of people protesting, tearing the Iranian flag, setting fires, and in some cases, confronting security forces. Meantime, some flights into Iran have been cancelled for now from Dubai and Turkey, a sign of the instability in the country at the moment, Joe.
And this morning, Iran's supreme leader did give a televised address to the nation. What's he saying? What's his message to protesters and his message to President Trump?
Yeah, Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei saying this morning, first of all, accusing protesters of acting on behalf of U.S. President Trump, saying rioters are attacking public properties. He also warned that Tehran would not tolerate foreigners, mercenaries acting for foreigners, he said. His speech was broadcast on Iranian state television, worth reminding viewers that President Trump said, or warned the regime rather, that he would intervene if protesters, peaceful protesters, are killed. Comparisons, of course, have been made to previous protests over the years. This one seems, in terms of the scale at least, on a different level. But important to remind viewers that these are the first protests under a regime that is seen as significantly weaker. The Israeli and American strikes last summer certainly played a role, but the Iranian regime's sphere of influence in the region, of course, is also diminished. Notably in Syria, there's a lot less influence there with Bashar al-Assad gone, Hezbollah in Lebanon also no longer the force that it was. Will all this be enough to topple the Iranian regime? Many, I'm sure, are asking. And the answer is, you know, watching events unfold over the past 2 years in the Middle East, fair to say that anything is possible.
All right, Danielle, thank you so much.
All right, Luigi Mangione returns to federal court today here in New York for a hearing that will focus on his attorney's bid to block prosecutors from seeking the death penalty. They are also trying to get some of the charges against Mangione thrown out.
The 27-year-old suspect faces federal and state murder charges. He's accused of shooting and killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson back in late 2024. Mangione has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His lawyers argue U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi should recuse herself from the case because of her ties to a lobbying firm that works with United Healthcare.
For more on this, let's bring in our friend NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos. Danny, as always, thank you for being with us. So the defense is arguing here when it comes to Pam Bondi that she was essentially operating under this conflict of interest. The direct quote here from them was that this was based on politics and not on merit, and therefore it's a violation of Mangione's constitutional rights. What is the defense going to have to do to try to prove that?
Top prosecutors are often political creatures, so it's not unusual for someone who either gets elected or, in the case of Bondi, appointed to a top prosecutor role that they have had a long history as politicians, so to speak, campaigning in one way or another. But this is an actual fair enough claim if the relationship between Bondi and this company was significant enough that it could create a conflict of interest. But generally speaking, courts do not like to grant these motions. They do not like to remove prosecutors from their cases, and especially the U.S. attorney for the entire country.
Yeah, and so if you are prosecutors working for that U.S. attorney, what's your argument to try and prevent this from happening?
So the argument is the classic argument. Look, when someone worked in a private capacity, they had lots of different clients. This isn't necessarily a conflict of interest. This is a gigantic company. She doesn't know any of the players involved. But here's the magic standard. It's not whether or not there's an actual conflict. The mere appearance of impropriety can often be enough. But yet, I go back to the point that judges rarely like to recuse or remove prosecutors from cases, although we've seen it in a few high-profile cases, including in Georgia, in the last few years.
Lahan, let's talk about that evidence that we've said that they're trying to get thrown out here. I mean, it's some big stuff. It includes a gun, which police say matched the one used to actually kill Thompson, and also this notebook. Our viewers probably remember this. This is where Mangione allegedly described his intent to, quote, whack a healthcare executive, also to firearms charges that they're trying to get dismissed. And if they are successful, that would eliminate that possibility of the death penalty. Do you think they have a strong enough case on this?
Here's what's crazy about this. We argued these exact same motions just a month or so ago in the state court case. Now we're in the federal case, and the state court isn't going to issue a decision until May. So what a bizarre world we would be in if two different courts issue two totally different decisions, one throwing out all this evidence and the other allowing it in. But here's the other thing we need to keep an eye on. Mangione has a real, I would say, non-zero chance of getting the death penalty charges dismissed, and here's why. He's arguing that the death penalty is premised on the crime use of a firearm during a crime of violence. The predicate crime of violence is the stalking statute. But the defense points out that you can commit stalking without violence. It's possible to do that. Therefore, stalking cannot qualify as a crime of violence. So therefore, the death penalty charge, the only one, count 3, must fail because he cannot have used a firearm during a crime of violence. Because stalking, don't get me wrong, stalking can lead to violence. Stalking has violence implications. But the test, according to the defense, is can you commit stalking without violence? And if so, it doesn't qualify. As you just alluded to, there are a lot of moving parts here. You got federal charges, state charges, different evidentiary hearings and rulings that we're waiting for. So what does the timeline look for as this moves forward? Where are we going to see perhaps a trial first? As a general rule, federal court always moves faster than state court. But as another general rule, an unofficial Danny rule, when it's a high-profile case, take your standard rules, hold them in your hand, and throw them out the window of a moving car. Because high-profile cases, combined with a judge's near complete power to manage his or her courtroom the way they see fit, allows them to say, well, you know, I know a lot more eyes are going to be looking at this than the typical habeas petition from some random prisoner. So I'm going to give this some extra time. For example, in the New York case, the judge has already announced that that case will not have a decision on these very similar motions until May. May of this year. This federal judge can decide whenever the judge wants to. That's what's great about being a federal judge. It's the closest thing we have to kings and queens in the United States. They serve for life. They manage their own docket. They do whatever they want, and none of us litigants can say anything about it. Not that I ever would judge every judge I'm appearing in front of. I think that's perfectly within your power.
Danny, it's turned into a comedy routine at the end. I love it. Danny Savalos, thank you very much. Good to have you with us.
All right, we've got to look now at the damage that was left behind after a tornado hit southern Oklahoma yesterday. The severe storms and damaging winds threatening tornadoes in Texas and the lower Mississippi Valley. Let's get more now with your Morning News Now weather.
Angie Lassman joins us. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hi, guys. Good morning. Unfortunately, yes, we had the severe weather yesterday, and we've got another chance at it today. We've got two different areas that we are specifically watching, kind of a tale of two storms across the country. One going to bring heavy rain and severe storms to one chunk of the country. The other has some snow, rain, and high winds associated with it. So let's break it all down for you. We'll start with those flood alerts that are sectioned off across parts of essentially Tennessee down to the Gulf Coast. New Orleans, Jackson, Birmingham, Huntsville, Nashville included in those. 11 million people in total, and you can see why. We've got this kind of severe risk and flood threat that's going to focus across parts of the lower Mississippi Valley as that heavy rain works through, along and ahead of and even behind this cold front. And this is going to leave us kind of an extension into the Northeast for some rain chances. And those rain chances will of course, be with us through the day today in that region. Now, in addition to that, you can see what happens by the time we get into Saturday. We'll have the potential for some stronger storms stretch from Virginia all the way to Louisiana, but we've also got some of that snow across the Great Lakes. We've got some rain and a wintry mix across the Northeast. This will be some beneficial rain, but still, again, coming on a Saturday could interrupt some of those plans, travel, etc. By the time we get into Sunday, we'll start to see big changes on the way. Some snow showers still lingering for the Great Lakes in New England, and those really cold winds for the rest of the Northeast. This is going to keep our temperatures, really, I should say, change our temperatures to be more typical by the time we go into next week. Either way, that severe threat, something we're focusing specifically on today. 8 million people from Selma to Bryan, including Lake Charles and Alexandria and New Orleans. We have the chance for wind gusts, hail, and a couple of tornadoes possible. And we also have that flood risk, specifically moderate risk, kind of centered right near Hattiesburg. This is where we're going to see those really impressive hourly rainfall rates. And we could pick up multiple inches of rain between now through Sunday, upwards of maybe 4, even close to 6 inches in some spots. So the flooding concern, very real. On top of that heavy rain, Savannah, that we're going to see elsewhere, it is a busy couple of days coming up.
Certainly, and good stuff for people to keep an eye on to stay safe.
Yeah,
Angie,
sure.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
There's much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, a game changer in the world of college sports. A look at how new rules are bringing big bucks to players even before they go pro. Up first, though, after the break, mission aborted. NASA working to bring back its astronauts after a medical emergency on the International Space Station. What we know next on Morning News Now. We are back with more on that medical scare on board the International Space Station. NASA is working around the clock to bring a group of astronauts home early due to a serious medical condition. This is the first time in history the agency has ever ended a mission early. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello has our details.
It's happening 250 miles above the Earth. For the first time ever, NASA is ending a mission early to medically evacuate an astronaut, bringing the 4-person crew 11 home early because of a medical situation involving one of them.
It's in the best interest of our astronauts to return Crew 11 ahead of their planned departure.
The crew expected back on Earth in the coming days. Because of medical privacy rules, NASA won't identify the astronaut or the medical concern, but describes the astronaut as stable. A spacewalk canceled. A Japanese astronaut, Kamiya Yui, called for a medical consult.
Do you have like a crew surgeon? Yes, we'll get that work. A flight surgeon?
The Crew 11 astronauts launched last August, set to return in February. Commander Zena Cardman, Station Commander Michael Fink, Japanese astronaut Kamiya Yui, and Russian Oleg Platonov. We talked to them before their 6-month assignment.
We're actually hoping to stay longer, but we'll see what NASA comes up with.
We want to work together as a team rather than 4 individuals.
Every astronaut candidate goes through extensive physical and psychological screening, laboratory and diagnostic tests, everything from breast and prostate exams to neck, heart, and lungs.
Because the astronaut is absolutely stable, this is not an emergent evacuation.
NASA says there is a lingering risk to leaving that astronaut on the station. Now a plan to bring them back for the necessary treatment on the ground. Back to you.
All right, Tom Costello, thank you very much. Well, for more on this, let's bring in former NASA astronaut Charlie Camarda. He's the author of Mission Out of Control, an astronaut's odyssey to fix high-risk organizations and prevent tragedy. Charlie, good morning. Thank you very much for being here, sharing your expertise and some of your time with us. We really appreciate it. And I understand that before retiring, you had logged more than 333 hours in space. So you are certainly an expert here to help us understand. And I just want to get your reaction to this. I mean, the first early evacuation in the history of the International Space Station. It's been staffed by humans for 25 years, over 25 years. What did you think of this move when you first heard it?
I was actually in headquarters with a meeting with the administrator, Jared Isaacman, on the heat shield issue with the Artemis II. When we heard the news, very concerned. It's obviously a serious condition for them to consider actually bringing a crew home early. So we were concerned, but we didn't know the details.
What is the typical protocol when there's a medical issue or something goes wrong during a mission? Again, I mean, this is the first time it's come to this extent where there might be this evacuation, but I'm sure other things have happened in the past. How is this normally handled?
Right. I mean, we've handled things like blood clots, problems with heart rhythms, kidney stones, things like that, infections in space, and managed to keep the crew up there. So what they typically do is they will have a consult with the flight medical officer, J.D. Polk, down on the ground. They will have a telemedicine conference. They will try to diagnose what they think the symptoms are and make that diagnosis, and then determine the severity and whether or not we need to bring the crew home.
So I guess maybe just kind of using reasoning, that must mean it's fairly serious if an evacuation is being considered?
Right. We wouldn't do this unless it was life-threatening and we couldn't manage the conditions on orbit, or we couldn't diagnose it properly and we were uncertain as to the severity.
We know that one American astronaut, well, I guess I should say, as far as we understand it, would stay behind on the space station and then be joined by 2 Russian cosmonauts. Obviously, this is not common that you're changing the usual rotation of people manning the space station. So is there a way that this last-minute switch and who is on board, sort of what their specialty is, could impact the ongoing experiments and operations on the ISS?
Well, the crew is well trained. I mean, you need a minimum of 2 crew on board to manage space station. So we have they're highly trained. They can accommodate any emergency conditions on the space station. And so it's really a matter of have we enough time, and we will take enough time to properly train the next crew as we're readying the next vehicle to come up. Is that satisfying all its certification requirements as we're readying that? Luckily, we're only about bringing them home 1 month early. So the next capsule is probably close to being totally ready, and the crew is highly trained. The one thing we do at NASA is we have an amazing training team on the ground, schedulers that have this all worked out ahead of time, and they know how to handle this. So I'm sure they can accelerate the crew training and the certification process.
Dr. Charlie Camarda, this was a big headline for us that we were super curious about. We really appreciate you breaking this down for us. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me, Savannah.
Coming up on Morning News Now, a tearful plea from a college student hoping to walk on her own graduation day.
I just want to live the life that I've had the pleasure to live the last 6 years. And now that my prosthetic doesn't fit anymore, they want to tell me that that life is not important.
When we come back, why she says her insurance company is denying her coverage for a new prosthetic. This is Morning News Now. We are back with a struggle many Americans face after losing a limb, which is getting life-changing prosthetics covered by insurance. It's part of our Cost of Denial series, explaining the real impact of denied claims. NBC Nightly News anchor Tom Yamas brings us the story of a Texas college student with one goal: to walk at her graduation.
I'm 15, 1 week into summer. I hear that I'm losing my entire foot. Like, I was hysterical.
Go to the chair.
For Gabby Guerrero, now 21, that moment changed her life. She had been off-roading with her siblings when the vehicle flipped, her left foot trapped.
I hit the puddle and it hydroplaned, got off balance, flipped. When it flipped, it captured my foot and slid 50 feet. When I looked down, I saw not my foot. I saw a bunch of blood.
Do you remember when the doctors told you you've lost your foot?
The first surgeon said, I pieced it back together, but we're probably gonna have to amputate from the ankle.
Gabby was in shock. She would now have to learn how to walk with a prosthesis. This was her new foot, and one that was fully covered by insurance. Prosthetic feet typically last 3 to 5 years. Gabby made hers last even longer.
I made it last 6 years. The back was starting to rip, which affected how it fit.
To be clear, by all accounts, you needed a new prosthetic.
Absolutely, 100%. Did not fit me, and it was literally disintegrating.
But now, just ahead of her graduation from Texas A&M, insurance denied coverage.
I just want to live the life that I've had the pleasure to live the last 6 years. And now that my prosthetic doesn't fit anymore, they want to tell me that that life is not important.
Her insurance said the new prosthesis was not medically necessary.
And you thought that wasn't the case?
Absolutely not. Like, comfort and convenience are very important in a lifestyle, and for them to say that that's not considered medically necessary, it just makes me angry.
And meets the criteria.
Through her mother's job, Gabby has an insurance plan administered by Aetna. Aetna told us that the silicone-based device requested did not meet the criteria to improve and restore function and mobility, and may slip off the anatomical heel and may cause a trip or fall hazard. Aetna also said the prosthetist who applied for Gabby's new foot didn't provide sufficient information.
Feels like we're playing a game.
Gabby's mother, Lynn Polson, was furious. The out-of-pocket cost for the prosthesis would be $7,500. With 9 kids in total, that's money she didn't have.
That's the whole reason we have insurance. And to judge and to tell me what my daughter needs when they don't really know, it's very frustrating.
Orthopedic experts and advocates tell NBC News that denials for coverage of prostheses are extremely common, and that while half of states have some sort of law governing coverage, laws across the country vary widely. Gabby appealed her denial, but 1 week before her graduation, coverage was denied again.
Does it hurt that they're telling you no for $7,500?
Absolutely. $7,500 to them is probably nothing. $7,500 on a credit card for my mom, it's a lot more. It means a lot more to us. And so my mom never questioned it. She pulled out her credit card and said, put it on this. And it's just, I don't know. It breaks my heart that my mom had to cough up $7,500 when that means a lot more to her than the insurance company.
But her mother insisted and put it on the credit card. Gabby got her prosthesis and donned open-toe heels, just like her friends at graduation. Picking up her degree in public health. But her story doesn't end here.
Since we last spoke, I have had about 4 phone calls with the insurance.
5 days after our interview, Aetna told NBC News it had more critical information about Gabby's needs and that her plan sponsor agreed to grant coverage of the prosthetic.
The insurance finally got the override to reverse the claim and reimburse my mom for the full amount.
Tom Yamas, NBC News.
Powerful report there, Tom. Thank you. Coming up, an AI upgrade in your Gmail inbox. Google rolling out new features meant to improve users' email experience. Your Money Minute is next here on Morning News Now. Welcome Welcome back tonight. Thousands of fans are expected to flood the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta for a Big Ten face-off between the Oregon Ducks and the Indiana Hoosiers. The playoff semifinal will determine which team will match up against the University of Miami in the College Football National Championship on January 19th. This all comes as a new round of rules around name, image, and likeness deals are shaking up the playing field on college campuses. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock has the latest.
Fresh faces stand on the cusp of college athletics immortality, knocking out familiar foes for a chance at college football's ultimate crown. Indiana, Indiana. One once considered the biggest loser in the history of the sport, now a national powerhouse. Touchdown! Another left at the altar by its coach just days before the playoffs. Driving much of the change, big bucks, prompting players from Indiana's Heisman winner Fernando Mendoza to Ole Miss's Trinidad Chambliss to switch schools in recent years.
How has NIL changed college sports and the competitive landscape as we know it?
NIL has actually, interestingly, added competitive balance. We're seeing pretty much every school, at least in the power conferences, having a real shot of winning a title.
It's also fostering a growing movement of athletes fighting to stay in school. Chambliss now seeking a 6th year of eligibility, even though some analysts think he could see his name called in the NFL draft. His lawyer reportedly sending multiple letters to the NCAA to ask for another year of eligibility, arguing Chambliss lost a season due to health issues, writing, quote, "Juries decide death penalty cases in less time." Attorney Darren Heitner has served as legal counsel for hundreds of college athletes.
It makes sense to conduct that due diligence and make a determination as to whether they want to take the risk and jump to the next level, or probably take a more conservative approach and stay in school where you can still make an exceptional amount of money.
Players can earn millions from name, image, and likeness, or NIL deals, which started a few years ago. But now colleges can also use a portion of athletic revenue to pay players directly after a settlement this summer. That money, though, is capped, and Heitner says it isn't enough alone to draw top athletes.
The reality is, to compete in this ecosystem, you can't be operating at the cap of $20.5 million.
Coinciding with the newfound revenues is a transfer portal system.
It created like the free market system every year for every player.
Effectively free agency that has caused a seismic shift in college sports.
The fact that guys can transfer multiple times and not sit for a year means that you're not going to wait. You're going to be very impatient.
Schools are also now boosted by wealthy alums like billionaire Mark Cuban, who went to Indiana, bankrolling its efforts to convince top athletes to transfer. Cuban wouldn't say how much he recently contributed, but told one outlet, let's just say they're happier this year than last year. As the multi-million-dollar deals pile up, so too does the controversy. Like in Washington, where several outlets report that quarterback DeMond Williams recently signed a multi-million-dollar contract to return, but days later wrote on Instagram that he's entering the transfer portal because he has to, quote, do what is best for me and my future. The university refusing to let him go and reportedly threatening to pursue legal action. We're out to Washington for comments, but have not yet heard back. Heitner, who is now representing Williams legally, declined to comment on his case, but says the confusing new web of contracts with players who are not considered employees is uncharted territory.
Nobody yet really knows the enforceability or the level of enforceability of these contracts because they haven't really been tested.
Meantime, the cost of college has skyrocketed in the last 30 years, and now even the students at some schools are being asked to chip in with additional fees going to athletic departments.
I think that's a really tough pill to swallow when you see like so much money that gets thrown around. Like, why should it be on the students who are enrolled in this college to have to pay for that?
As college sports start to look a whole lot more like the pros. Sam Brock, NBC News.
All right, let's get you to Wall Street now for a look at some other money headlines. Google is sending artificial intelligence to your Gmail inbox. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has our Money Minute. This kind of sounds like good news to me as a Gmail user.
Definitely, but we'll get into it's not going to be available for everyone. It depends on whether or not you subscribe for certain features. So yeah, it seems like your Gmail inbox may start to feel less like a list and more like a personal assistant. Google's rolling out new capabilities using Gemini 3 that includes AI overviews that summarize conversations, help me write, that can assist in polishing emails, proofread for grammar and style checks, and then there's AI inbox. Google says that's like having a personalized briefing to bring you up to speed on what's most important. As I just mentioned with Savannah, while several of these features are free for all users, some will only be available to AI Pro and Ultra subscribers. And Disney is borrowing a page from TikTok and bringing vertical videos to your TV screen. Disney says the videos are coming to Disney Plus in the U.S. this year in an effort to boost daily engagement as younger viewers gravitate toward quick, scrollable clips made popular by TikTok and Instagram Reels. Disney says the experience will expand over time and deliver a, quote, more personalized, dynamic experience. And speaking of TikTok, get ready to scroll the World Cup. TikTok is teaming up with FIFA as the first, quote, preferred platform for the World Cup, bringing expanded coverage, original content, and even live streams of some match moments to fans. FIFA says this partnership is about sharing the World Cup's excitement with as many fans as possible and bringing people closer to the action. And of course, Savannah, this will include giving content creators some special access. So I am thinking that maybe there'll be some controversy there just because there was so much uproar over the price of tickets for the World Cup. And now all these content creators will be getting special access. And I'm interested to see what happens there.
All right, we'll see. Emily, thank you. Coming up on Morning News Now, a picture-perfect proposal gone horribly, horribly wrong.
I looked through the grates and saw how high I was. Then immediate panic and nerves went completely through my body.
Okay, don't worry. This love story does have a happy ending. How they found the ring after it fell more than 100 feet into the snow. That's coming up when we be right back.
We are wrapping up this hour with a proposal that took a bit of a tumble. A newly engaged couple in Michigan got more than they planned when he dropped to one knee. Well, he dropped more than just the question.
Nightly news anchor Tom Yamas has more.
Trevor Van Camp had the ring ready for a picture-perfect proposal to his girlfriend, Danielle Jenkins, high atop a suspension bridge in Michigan. But seconds later, the ring slipping away, falling 118 feet into the snow below.
I looked through the grates and saw how high I was. Then immediate panic and nerves went completely through my body.
They went down into the snow searching for hours, but they couldn't find it in the dark.
I reassured Trevor up and down that no matter what, I loved him. I was always going to say yes, and we would figure it out when we got home.
That's when the mountain snowmaking supervisor stepped in, determined to find that ring.
I searched a really good area for it. I dug the snow down, and then the edge of the ring stuck out. And I kind of sat there for a minute, and I was like, there's no way you just found that.
Our hero. Absolutely.
Finally, Trevor was able to put the ring on Danielle's finger.
He looked at me and I said, you don't have to do it all over again, but put it on my hand this time.
And Trevor has some advice for those looking to pop the question.
Just do it on flat ground. It's the smartest place.
A happy ending giving a whole new meaning to falling in love. Tom Yamas, NBC News.
Do it in a sterile room where there's no cracks or anything.
What a hero.
Yeah, no kidding. That's incredible.
Really nice of him.
All right. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now. Good morning and happy Friday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, explosive outrage in another American city. Police in Portland, Oregon say 2 people were shot and wounded by a Border Patrol agent who was conducting a targeted vehicle stop. Federal agents now saying this latest incident was an act of self-defense that comes just a day after an ICE officer shot and killed a 37-year-old American citizen in Minneapolis. The deafening cries for reform now being echoed by local leaders. Overseas, Iran's leaders fighting back as they face what could be the biggest challenge to their authority in years. Demonstrators facing tear gas as they confront the authorities who've blocked out the internet. President Trump threatening to intervene. Well, this morning, Iran's supreme leader claims demonstrators are trying to please the U.S. president. Our Richard Engel has the latest in just a moment. Plus, we've got our eyes on the economy here at home with a fresh snapshot of America's job market out this morning. We'll bring you the latest numbers, reaction from Wall Street, and how a potential Supreme Court ruling today could shake up President Trump's ongoing tariff crusade. And later in the hour, why smoking is making a nostalgia-fueled comeback in 2026, especially among younger Americans. It's a tar-laden trend that's got doctors hoping this unwelcome throwback will soon be snuffed out. We've seen smoking rates drop so dramatically over the decades. No sign that they're going up yet, but there are some worries that there is a pop culture revival, and that could encourage some people to start the bad habit.
Important conversation.
Let's begin this hour with another shooting involving federal agents, this time in Portland, Oregon, where 2 people were injured. The Trump administration says it happened during a traffic stop with a Border Patrol agent firing in self-defense as a driver accelerated toward him. Local police said that they can't verify those claims since they responded after the incident occurred.
The incident comes just 24 hours after an ICE officer shot and killed a U.S. citizen behind the wheel of her car in Minneapolis. The administration says the agent who shot the 37-year-old woman was also acting in self-defense, but that narrative is disputed by local politicians. Now, outrage continues to grow this morning over that shooting as protesters clashed with police in Minneapolis, calling for ICE to leave their city. And that is where you find NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa joining us with the latest. Maggie, good morning.
Hey there. Amid more protests overnight, police actually closing this area off where Wednesday's fatal ICE shooting happened, pushing the media back several blocks, pushing the public back, trying to keep the peace as the Trump administration vows immigration raids will continue. Overnight, tensions rising nationwide. Amid the Trump administration's immigration crackdown, crowds gathering in cities across the country, including New York, Columbus, Dallas, L.A., and Minneapolis, where the fatal shooting of a woman by an ICE agent kicked off a nationwide response. The officer who killed 37-year-old mother of 3, Renee Good, now identified as Jonathan Ross. DHS telling NBC News Ross was seriously injured in a traffic stop here 6 months ago when he tried to arrest an undocumented convicted sex offender who dragged Ross 50 yards with his car. 6 months later, this fateful moment. Police say Good was blocking the road with her SUV. You can see officers approach, Ross stepping in front of it. Good reverses before accelerating forward while turning. That's when authorities say Ross fired multiple shots. The Trump administration defending his actions, including Vice President J.D. Vance, in a rare appearance in the White House briefing room, saying without evidence that Good was radicalized. Pressed by NBC's Kelly O'Donnell.
Is there a risk with you describing her as a deranged leftist, talking about very specific facts of these events, when an investigation is just beginning?
Well, first of all, the Department of Justice is going to investigate this in this case. You have a woman who is trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation. I can believe that her death is a tragedy while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making.
While local officials, including the city's mayor, dispute the Trump administration's narrative, and some expressing frustration with the investigation.
It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because people in positions of power have already passed judgment.
And amid all this unrest overnight, the New York Times knew overnight reporting the Trump administration now plans to deploy more than 100 U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents here to the Minneapolis area, effectively through the weekend, with the acting ICE director saying operations here will continue.
All right, Maggie, thank you very much. Well, in Oregon, hundreds of protesters gathered outside the Immigration and Customs Enforcement building in Portland overnight following that shooting of 2 people inside their vehicle.
NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin is in Portland with the latest. Dana, good morning.
Joe Savannah, good morning to you. So far, no surveillance or witness video has surfaced of this incident, raising a lot of questions still. What started off as a targeted vehicle stop turned violent, forcing this agent to fire his weapon. According to DHS, the FBI is now investigating. Overnight protest after another shooting incident involving federal agents.
We have a male who was shot twice in the arm, a female who was shot in the chest.
In Portland, Oregon, 2 people shot by a Border Patrol agent. Police say the man and woman were both hospitalized, their conditions unknown. The Department of Homeland Security saying agents stopped a vehicle carrying 2 people affiliated with the violent Tren de Aragua gang. DHS saying the passenger is an illegal Venezuelan immigrant involved with a recent shooting in Portland. DHS saying the driver weaponized his vehicle and attempted to run over agents when they identified themselves, adding an agent fearing for his life and safety fired defensive shots. Local police saying they can't verify those claims since they responded after the vehicle had left the scene.
On our end, we do not know the facts of this case.
Portland's mayor demanding ICE halt operations pending an investigation.
We know what the federal government says happened here. There was a time when we could take them at their word. That time is long past.
Last night, multiple arrests as crowds clashed with police, with another city on edge. This shooting now raises tensions in a city that has already had a long contentious relationship with the Trump administration over its efforts to deploy National Guard troops to the city. There are several protests already planned for today, including one that will be centered around this ICE facility that for months over the summer has been a flashpoint over these deportations. Joe, Savannah.
All right, Dana, thank you. For more analysis, let's bring in Brian Foley. He's the retired chief of detectives of the Hartford Police Department. We're following breaking news out of Minnesota 2 days after an ICE agent shot and killed a U.S. citizen in her vehicle.
Yesterday, Minnesota's State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension said it was pushed out of a joint investigation with the FBI. Let's listen into an update here from officials.
Every step of the way. The fact that Pam Bondi's Department of Justice and this presidential administration has already come to a conclusion about those facts is deeply concerning. The facts that from the very beginning they're calling the victim a domestic terrorist, they're calling the actions of the agent involved as some form of defensive posture. We know that they've already determined much of the investigation, and even if they haven't, there is the appearance that there is some conclusion drawn from the very beginning. If not hide from the facts, why not embrace them? If it's not a problem to have additional people at the table that have a deep commitment to the process and transparency and have run these investigations before, then why not include them in the process? The Bureau of Criminal Apprehension at the state of Minnesota has consistently run these investigations before. They have done so without bias. They have done so with a great deal of expertise. This is not some radical, way out there group. This is a group that is formed by experts who understand how to investigate. Many of them have been police officers themselves. So our ask is really simple here. Our ask is to embrace the truth. Our ask is to include the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension in this process because we in Minneapolis want a fair investigation. Is it deeply concerning that this administration from the very get-go is drawing the conclusion that they may ultimately come to? Of course it is. And if you got nothing to hide from, then don't hide from it. Include local experts in the process. We got nothing to hide from here. All we want in Minneapolis is justice and the truth. And speaking of the truth, let me give you another one. I have heard countless people talk about Minneapolis, many of them who have never been here, as some form of post-apocalyptic hellscape, as a place that is dangerous. Well, let me give you a statistic. 50% of the shootings that have happened thus far in Minneapolis this year have been ICE. In other words, we've only had 2 shootings. One of them has been ICE. We are a safe city. ICE is making it less so. We are a city of unity, but ICE is trying to divide us and tear us apart. For every one of the people that you see standing here behind me, they have more than 1,000 people behind them. They have people that are committed to their neighbors, committed to integrity, committed to justice, and committed to getting the truth. We will not back down from it. That's right. Among those that won't back down from it is the person who I'm about to introduce. His ward is right on the borderline of where this particular shooting happened, and that is Councilmember Jason Chavez. Would you please give him a warm round of applause?
Good morning. My name is Jason Chavez. and I have the privilege of representing Ward 9 on the Minneapolis City Council, where ICE murdered Renee Good. I want to let you all know that our entire community is mourning because of the inhumane tactics of ICE separating our families, forcing people back into the shadows, and the pure brutality by Immigration's Customs Enforcement. The videos that we have all seen, yourself included, does not match the false narrative from the federal government. In fact, you could hear the words, "I am pulling out," moments before ICE decided to take the life of Renee Good. She was a mother, a wife, and a beloved community member, not a domestic terrorist. I'm calling on Trump's FBI to allow the Minnesota BCA to have access to all the information so an independent investigation can occur. It is important and critical to our community to have a sense of trust in this process by having an independent investigation to present to the county attorney so that adequate charges can be made. But most importantly, I am here on behalf of my entire community, echoing the calls to arrest, to prosecute and fire this ICE agent who murdered Renee Good, and to hold those accountable complicit in this crime. What has descended upon Minneapolis and in this state is not the American dream. It is not what the American dream is about. Our immigrant neighbors are here to work. They're here to provide for their family and to achieve prosperity. Instead, what we are seeing in Minneapolis and across the state is ICE kidnapping our family, following folks driving to work and kidnapping them, following people as they're heading to school or to the daycare, picking up our immigrant neighbors from bus stops. While neighbors are struggling to afford groceries, they're picking them there as well. I've personally been on the streets since this first happened, and I've seen too many ICE agents kidnap our neighbors from their cars. And to that, we're always going to condemn it. And as we continue to ask for justice for Renee Good, we're going to ask our community members to stay on alert. As a proud son of Mexican immigrants, I ask Minneapolis and Minnesota to rise up, to do everything in their power to defend our immigrant neighbors, to continue to observe the illegal actions by ICE, to blow your whistle when you see immigration enforcement in your neighborhood, to get trained on rapid response so you can educate your neighbors on what is happening on your block, to provide rides to your immigrant neighbors who need to go to work, who need to get groceries, who need to see their children come back home safely, to help your immigrant neighbors move their cars during snow emergencies, because what we are seeing is many of our immigrant neighbors being picked up simply by moving their cars. To help your neighbors take out the trash, because there are many reports of neighbors being kidnapped while they are taking their trash out. To support our immigrant-owned businesses, to drop off groceries to our children, mothers, fathers, our community members that are starving, and to let know that ICE is not welcome in this city and in this state. And lastly, we're here to demand justice for Renee Good.
My name is Aisha Gomez. I serve as the state representative for District 62A, south side of Minneapolis, where our beloved community member was murdered this week. I'm so grateful to Councilmember Chavez for explaining this moment to us and calling on us as a community into this struggle that our neighbors are facing. With respect to the investigation into this shooting, there's really only one question in front of us. Are we going to design a process that's legitimate or not? In 2020, the state legislature created the Force Investigations Unit after the murder of George Floyd, which happened right around the corner 7 or 8 blocks away from where Renee Good was murdered. This unit was established after a long process of looking into what are the best practices when there is an officer-involved shooting. We learned a lot about this in 2020 in Minneapolis, unfortunately. One of the things that we learned is that if you actually are interested in public safety, if you actually are interested in the legitimacy of a law enforcement force in your community, then you must be invested in accountability, in transparency, and in fair investigations when bad things happen. That's right. And so that's the question in front of us. Do we want a legitimate investigation that pulls in the professionals of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension who are trained to do this, who have done this over and over, who have the kind of local connections and local legitimacy that the FBI could just never have because they don't have that kind of presence here? Or are we going to have a discredited farce of an investigation? And so as a group of elected representatives who are deeply invested in the safety of our community, and thus in the legitimacy of these processes, we call on the FBI to share the evidence with the Force Investigations Unit at the BCA and have this be a legitimate and trusted investigation. Thank you.
I'm Hennepin County Commissioner Irene Fernando, but you can call me Commish. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a very, very proud child of immigrants. I'm the youngest woman to ever serve on the Hennepin County Board. I'm the first Filipino-American elected in the state, and I'm Hennepin's first board chair of color in our 174-year history. My heart is grieving for Renee and her family. This is an unimaginable and preventable loss. I honor Renee's humanity and life, and I acknowledge the deep pain felt by her loved ones and neighbors. The taxpayer-funded actions and harm we are experiencing right now are inhumane, unlawful, and unconstitutional. United States due process means that justice is pursued through legal action, credible investigation, and courts, not through guns, murder, and violence on our streets. There's jarring footage that show ICE agents stage at elementary school bus stops and going door to door. Often agents are unwilling to provide a badge number, a warrant, or any legal documentation. This is a terrifying reality for Minnesotans since we are still grieving Speaker Hortman's assassination due to the impersonation of a police officer at her doorstep. Our community has experienced a national spotlight with law enforcement shootings, which required significant change and reform on how such cases are examined, investigated, and communicated to the public. It is critical for our communities to have some sense of trust in the process in order to meet the standards set by Minnesota law and resident expectations. That's right. This is why we're calling on the federal government to cooperate with a joint or independent investigation conducted by the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. The thought is that they would do this together, but if for some reason that is not possible, please allow shared evidence for a parallel investigation. The Minnesota BCA is the only nonpartisan state agency equipped to investigate robustly and effectively, in part due to their establishment of the Force Investigations Unit. They have the expertise, they are equipped, and they are ready to pursue justice on behalf of Minnesotans. Alongside their own investigation, the BCA, alongside the federal investigation, the BCA can and should conduct this parallel process, which means full access to the information, evidence, and case file. Because in Minnesota, we expect that investigations are completed by the BCA to then get reviewed by the county attorney to determine if the use of force was appropriate or not. We have a process here to review force. We have full trust in this process and in the county attorney to do the objective review needed based on the facts and Minnesota law. The idea that our federal government would not fully cooperate with the BCA in an investigation creates even more mistrust among our community members, because we know federal investigations are very rarely released to the public. Our justice system and we are here together to ask for and request full cooperation by the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office to provide full access to the BCA so they can conduct a thorough, complete, and independent investigation to determine if the use of force was justified or requires additional accountability. Last and certainly not least, just directly to residents, our neighbors, our friends, our family members, our coworkers, our kids. I am very, very proud of our unrelenting courage, compassionate caregiving, and a fierce resilience towards justice. It feels very hopeful and very fearful, but together we can and must resist the urge to give in to the numbness that comes from this type of attention. Because numbing our pain might also numb our shared humanity. And it is only through the collective wisdom in our bodies and ancestral storylines that we will get through to the other side of this. Together, we come from powerful, loving, and resourceful stories. Our cultures and ancestors have found ways to construct creativity from pain, joy from fear, and hope from oppression, and we will do so again today. Ultimately, I do believe that our shared humanity and love for one another will prevail, but that only occurs when we all rise with one another. Leading with integrity, caring for one another with dignity, and fighting for our shared humanity without an apology. I and we remain in this fight with you, speaking our truths and leading towards accountability and justice. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I am State Senator Zaida Mohammed. I think I speak on all of my colleagues, especially colleagues in the Senate, when I say we are here on behalf of Renee Nicole Goode, a beloved wife, mom, daughter, and neighbor who was needlessly and brutally taken from us in Minneapolis streets on Wednesday morning. That night, thousands of us gathered at the site to grieve the loss and to mourn Renee and to rally for justice. Everything I have learned about Renee, about her humanity and compassion, tells me she would have been there with us, speaking truth to power and turning pain into poetry. This federal government has given us too many reasons to not trust them to do the right thing. There are thousands of agents were sent here under a false pretense in the minutes after an agent, and the minutes after an agent's shot, they refused to render aid. And their leaders have used every opportunity since this tragedy to lie about the facts, to lie about Renee, and to blame her for her own murder. There were many witnesses to Renee's murder, and the horrific videos we have seen make us all witnesses. This was a crime in broad daylight, and the attempt to cover it up is another. Renee is owed the same rights we promised to every American: due process, respect, and truth. We know what we saw, and everything short of a full and an honest investigation is an insult to her memory. Everything she stood for, and everything we stand for as Americans. At 10 o'clock today, we will honor the life and legacy of Renee Nicole Goode with a moment of silence. Every moment before that and every moment after that, we will honor Renee by remembering our neighbor and calling for justice at the top of our lungs. And with that, we will take questions.
they refuse to investigate illegal immigration, so why should we? I guess I'm wondering, if that continues to be the answer to public pressure, are there legal remedies at the city, state, county attorney level that would allow an investigation?
Right. So the question stemmed from an answer from a press conference that happened in New York City just yesterday, where it was asked, what is the general process for doing this? Are there legal remedies that are available at the city, county, state level, et cetera, where we would have the ability to move forward with either some form of investigation or prosecution? First, there is some precedent that is important here. There have been instances in the past where there was some form of shooting or an officer-involved killing that took place by federal agents or U.S. Marshals or beyond that did have local and state entities in control. By the way, we're not even talking just about full control here. We're talking about being at the table. We're talking about an investigation that includes the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. And for those that may say that we have a predetermined outcome, we are not the ones that are conducting the investigation. The investigation would be conducted by the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. They are well equipped to do it. They have a long track record of doing thorough investigations and, by the way, coming to results that both saw culpability and a lack thereof. As far as the legal mechanism to do so, I'm not going to jump the gun here and give you a mechanism to prosecute through the county or the state before we actually know what that legal remedy looks like. But I can assure you there is potential there that is available. Go here and there.
Doubling down.
Well, I think what this does ultimately is expose the truth. What did they say when they came in here? What has this administration stated as their reason for coming into cities around the country? The reason that they've stated, safety, driving down crime. Well, let our statistics speak for the trajectory. They are clearly driving crime up. Up until last night, we hadn't had any shootings in this city other than ICE. Our city is safe. Our city is welcoming. They are making it less so. And so it is a massive issue that they continue to exert their presence in Minneapolis and beyond. By the way, it's not just our city that is feeling the impact. I know that there are a number of legislators behind me that can speak to that. This administration has also said that they're very pro-business. That's also garbage. I don't have a specific statistic other than anecdotal evidence to point to, but they have had a massive and detrimental impact on a number of corridors throughout our city, including like 80% reductions in customer base along East Lake Street and many other corridors throughout the city. And so bad for business, bad for safety, bad for unity, bad for democracy, and bad for this republic. We want them out. Let's go over here and then go over there. So the question is, if there's no full independent investigation of this shooting, what will the effect be? I mean, I think it further undermines trust in government. You know, the quickest way that you erode trust in government is to refuse to enforce and hold accountable people on laws that you pass. There are laws that are around this. There are standards that are around this. They should have no concern about having a full and transparent investigation here. See where that investigation leads. Look at the facts, collect the evidence. And the fact that they are for some reason concerned about having other, by the way, police involved, other law enforcement involved through the BCA, that is wildly concerning. We're not asking to be at the table in this investigation here. We do think that people that have some willingness to see things clearly are. Well, I think we got to get to a point here where we're not trusting everything that they're saying, and I think you guys they're there at this point. I mean, I think he also asserted that because you work at the federal government that you somehow have absolute immunity from committing crimes. That's not true in any law school in America, whether it's Yale or Villanova or anywhere else. That's not true. If you break the law, if you do things that are outside the area of what your job responsibilities require, and this clearly seems to be at the very least, this is great. At the most is what you heard people say back here. This is a problem and it should be investigated. Yes.
A couple questions for you. First, have you heard personally anything from the Trump administration or the president himself? And also, the administration has pointed to some of your comments right after the shooting as turning up the temperature in this city. Yesterday, we did see some protests that, turned volatile at times. There was pepper spray, there was tear gas. Do you stand by your statements to telling ICE to...
Yeah, they stand by their statements. Do you stand by your statements? Yes. I stand by my statements. We stand by our statements. I'll look back to what I said. What I said was it was reckless abuse of power. Yes, it was a reckless abuse of power. I said that what the narrative that the administration was pushing in the immediacy following this shooting was garbage and false and BS. It was. I stand by every one of those. And, this notion of inflammatory comments, I mean, come on, guys. I dropped an F-bomb. They killed somebody. Which one of those is more inflammatory? I'm going with the killing somebody. I'm going to do like a couple more, and then I'm sure there's some other people behind me too. Yeah.
Trump has said that it's clear that Renee Nicole is not just trying to win this officer, but she actually ran him over. J.D. Vance has promised this officer absolute immunity in this case. Is there any hope?
Yeah, that seems, the way you put it, it's pretty grim. What you just said, and I think, to repeat for everybody, Donald Trump said that Renee ran the ICE agent over. Don't take my word for it. Don't take their word for it. Watch the video from every single angle. I mean, the ICE agent walked away with a hip injury that he might as well have gotten from closing a refrigerator door with his hips. He was not injured. I've seen worse injuries from doing that. And so give me a break. No, he was not ran over. He walked out of there with a hop in his step. And so we just got to get to the point where we're at least operating from, hey, this is like, we're looking at it on the video screen, this is what we're seeing, can we all see that it wasn't run over? And then, yeah, J.D. Vance, this concept of absolute immunity is pretty bizarre.
How concerning is that, though?
Very concerning. It's extremely concerning. That's why we're asking for the BCA to be part of the investigation.
We have time for about 2 more questions. Does someone have a question for someone other than myself?
Is there a point at which the state loses access to the investigation?
We did.
Do you want to answer that? I don't know the exact timeline, but I imagine the answer is yes. Go for it. Go for it.
Jamie Long, State Representative, Minneapolis Representative. There have been instances in the past where the FBI has shared information weeks after or even months after. It would be much better if the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension were able to be involved right now. There is time-sensitive evidence. There are memory lapses that happen if you aren't able to interview witnesses right away. And so they were invited by the FBI to participate in the investigation jointly originally. And then for some reason they decided to walk away. We are asking for their full participation as the FBI intended originally. They were clearly told by somebody that they couldn't participate anymore. And when you have the President of the United States, the Vice President, the FBI Director of Homeland Security already coming to conclusions, and then they are told on the ground that they can no longer be involved with local investigators, that causes a lot of concern. And to us, time is important, but they should be involved in the investigation at any time that they're allowed to be.
So the question is whether I can talk or describe about interactions with Ms. Gooden, who she was as a person. It would be completely inappropriate for me to do so because there are other people that really knew her, and I did not.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Nice job. Thank you.
All right, you have been listening to a news conference with Minnesota officials at the state, county, and city level, including Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Their main message here urging the Department of Justice to reverse its decision to allow a joint investigation into Wednesday's fatal ICE shooting, to allow Minnesota's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to be at the table. Mayor Frey saying the BCA has consistently run investigations like this before. There's a precedent for it in the past, and that it's not a, quote, radical way out there group. Just a few days ago, just yesterday actually, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was asked about this very issue. She said that Minnesota is a train wreck right now, and she says that Minnesota has no jurisdiction when it comes to this investigation.
We also have an update for you out of Portland, Oregon. The Department of Homeland Security just released images that we're about to show you on your screen. It shows two of the individuals right here. These are the two who were shot and injured by a border agent while in their vehicle yesterday afternoon. In a post to X, the department identified them as, quote, criminal illegal aliens from Venezuela, adding that the driver who was there is suspected member of Tren de Aragua gang, and that the passenger is associated with the gang. They included further details about each of them, but it's not clear where those details came from.
The Trump administration says yesterday's shooting happened during a traffic stop, with a Border Patrol agent firing in self-defense as a driver accelerated toward him. Local police have said they can't verify those claims because they responded after the incident occurred. This has sparked some outrage across the city of Portland, with protesters taking to the streets outside the Immigration and Customs Enforcement building overnight. This incident, like the one in Minnesota, is still under investigation.
We will have much more right here on News Now. Be sure to stay with us. We'll bring you the very latest on each of these breaking stories throughout the day. The news continues right now.
Some breaking developments concerning Venezuela this morning. The U.S. seized another oil tanker called Olena linked to the country. Now, according to two U.S. officials, the seizure was conducted by the Coast Guard and the Joint Task Force's Southern Spear in the Caribbean Sea. This is the fifth incident of the U.S. intercepting a ship that officials say is linked to sanctioned Venezuelan oil shipments. The tanker reportedly left Venezuela last week before deposed President Nicolas Maduro was captured, but was returned fully loaded after the U.S. implemented an oil blockade.
Well, this morning, NASA is moving fast to evacuate a crew of astronauts on the International Space Station. It comes after one of the crew members developed a medical issue that requires immediate attention. This is the first time that NASA has ended a mission prematurely for medical reasons. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello explains.
Yeah, so NASA is only saying that this will happen in the coming days. Now, the Crew 11 astronauts launched last August, and they were supposed to be coming home in February. Now, NASA is expediting their return for medical treatment. Once they splash down in the Pacific, recovery teams will move in to get the sick astronaut to shore and then on for treatment.
This morning, history unfolding in space as NASA prepares for the first medical evacuation of the space station, bringing home all 4 astronauts early after one of them developed a medical issue that needs to be addressed.
I've come to the decision that it's in the best interest of our astronauts to return Crew 11 ahead of their planned departure.
Because of medical privacy, NASA won't identify the astronaut or the medical concern, but describes the astronaut now as stable.
The medical incident was sufficient enough that we were concerned about the astronaut. Now, again, because the astronaut is absolutely stable, this is not an emergent evacuation.
Crew 11 is made up of Commander Zena Cardman, Station Commander Michael Fink, Japanese astronaut Kamiya Yui, and Russian cosmonaut Oleg Plantinov. We talked to them before their 6-month assignment.
In the meantime, we are fully prepared to stay up for as long as 8 months or whatever they ask of us.
It's a privilege and an honor to get to take part in a mission like this, but I think the greatest burden is carried by our family and friends at home.
Every astronaut goes through extensive physical and psychological screening before ever going to space, including detailed laboratory and diagnostic tests, everything from breast and prostate exams to neck, heart, and lungs, noting the risk for a medical event increases with mission duration. The space station itself is equipped with medical supplies and medicines, even ultrasounds and blood analyzers. On the ground, flight surgeons are available 24/7. Among them, 25-year NASA veteran Dr. Joe Schmidt, whom I met in Houston last fall.
The good thing is that we've screened these astronauts before they've flown. If they have any medication needs, we actually will give them medication to take with them. And then, yes, we would be prepared if they had an emergency or a medical issue on board.
So with Crew 11 coming home early, that will leave just 1 American and 2 Russian cosmonauts on the station. So NASA will have to move to get the Crew 12 replacements up on station soon, so the station is fully staffed. We don't yet have a timeline or how that might impact the Artemis moon mission, which is set to go in early February. Back to you.
All right, Tom, thank you.
Back on Earth in the United Kingdom, Princess Kate turns 44 today. She's marking her birthday by sharing a new video on social media reflecting on how nature helped her heal following her cancer battle. The princess also made a surprise visit to a London hospital Thursday, joined by her husband, Prince William. It's part of her gradual return to public life 1 year after she was given the all clear from cancer. NBC's Keir Simmons has more on the special visit. Keir, good morning.
Happy birthday, Your Royal Highness. Kate, the Princess of Wales, is 44 today, and yesterday she surprised patients at a hospital. For the Princess of Wales, her first public engagement of 2026 was for a cause close to her heart, visiting a hospital with the Prince of Wales, sharing her personal experience battling cancer with patients.
No small things. Very nice to meet you.
The couple making their way through wards and therapy rooms, meeting with patients, volunteers and frontline hospital staff, reflecting on how creativity supported her during her own health journey, emphasising a holistic approach to recovery.
Whether it's, just a casual conversation or it's the art therapy or whether it's walking and going to the cafe with a patient and things, it makes such a big difference in that recovery and healing journey, and also the confidence going back into home life.
Kate's appearance a surprise. William had been scheduled to appear alone, part of a continuing return to duties for the Princess of Wales.
Coming here today and reminding ourselves just how important all the teams are, all the staff, the patient sort of interactions, it's so heartwarming.
All of it comes 1 year after Kate announced she was cancer-free, revealing last January that she was officially in remission.
Although I finished chemotherapy, my path to healing and full recovery is long.
Since then, the princess has been easing back into public life. In recent months, she's taken part in key royal engagements, including laying a wreath on Remembrance Day. Earlier in 2025, she attended the St. Patrick's Day parade and celebrated with the Irish Guards.
Get into you, boys!
In the summer, there was an appearance at Wimbledon. She greeted French President Macron in July and President Trump and the First Lady during their high-profile state visit in September. The princess stepped out solo, delivering a speech focused on the cause she's championed for years, creating safe and nurturing environments for children.
We believe that we must do all we can to create the conditions for love to flourish. That is how we invest in our future.
And just last month, with her 3 children, George, Charlotte and Louis, the princess front and centre once again at her annual Christmas Carol concert at Westminster Abbey. Then on Christmas Day, the whole family joining the royal family for the traditional appearance at Sandringham. This year, William and Kate and their children are in their new home, Forest Lodge, close to Windsor Castle, with the new year shaping up to be a fresh chapter for the family and a steady return to public life. for the Princess of Wales.
And royal watchers are talking about the signs of affection between William and Kate that we've seen all last year, and there was a little bit more of that this year, so that romance still going.
All right, Keir, thank you so much.
Love that, Keir. Coming up, America's job market back in focus this morning.
Yeah, the U.S. adding jobs. So how many? We're going to dig into the new government report just out and how it could sway Wall Street in the first few weeks of 2026. That is next on Morning News Now.
Let's take a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with new details from the White House on the design plan for President Trump's multi-million-dollar ballroom.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us with more. Julie, good morning.
Good morning again to you, Savannah and Joe. Let's begin here in the nation's capital, where, as you mentioned, we are getting a closer look at what President Trump is planning for his expansive ballroom. At a public hearing yesterday, the ballroom's architect told the National Capital Planning Commission, you see it there, that the privately funded project has a requirement to seat 1,000 guests. And get this, will be up to 20,000 square feet in size. Construction of the ballroom is happening right now in the East Wing of the White House, and it's expected to take years. The architect also assured the commission that the height of the new space will match the White House building itself. Staying in Washington, the longest-serving Democrat in Congress, Steny Hoyer, is retiring from the House. The 86-year-old has held his seat since 1981 and announced his decision to not run for re-election on the House floor yesterday. Hoyer had a storied career on Capitol Hill. He rose through Democratic leadership and served twice as Majority Leader under then-Speaker Nancy Pelosi. He's stepping down from his leadership post at the same time as Pelosi did back in 2022. And finally to Pennsylvania, where Governor Josh Shapiro just announced his re-election campaign. But what he said could also be a launching point for a potential 2028 presidential bid. The Democrat detailed his fight against the, quote, chaos and toxicity in Washington, D.C. He held the event at a carpenter's training center in Pittsburgh and listed his first-term accomplishments to a crowded room. Shapiro pledged to lower housing and energy costs for Pennsylvanians if they re-elect him to a second term as the leader of that state. And that is a look at what is making news in politics this morning. Savannah and Joe, back to you.
All right, Julie, thank you so much. We've got some breaking economic data to bring you.
Yeah, the U.S. economy added 50,000 jobs in December, and the unemployment rate came in at 4.4%. NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans is here with what that all means.
Yeah, and Christine's working on her art project there on the big board to walk us through these numbers and how they compare with the past few months.
Yeah, this is what the year looks like. This is why these December numbers are so exciting, especially after the government shutdown. You can see just how choppy the year was. Started strong with job creation, and then a lot of drama here. This is when the president announced all of his tariffs, and then you can see just how kind of erratic the rest of the year was for job growth. This is that 50,000. So this was a weak performance here. And we had some revisions. This one was actually a little bit less, and this one was a little bit more in terms of job losses. So an extra 75,000 jobs lost there. So that's important to look at. And then the jobless rate, when you look at the jobless rate, what I think is so fascinating here, this is by this is by the year. Look at this year. If we add this here, you can see this year was the weakest, you guys, since the recession of 2020, and you have to go back to the Great Recession to see a year with job creation this light. So this was a tough year. This was a cool year for job creation. Cool, and not in a good way. Cool as in cold.
Cold. Got it. Cool as in temperature. What changes are we seeing by industry, Christine?
Yeah, we saw leisure and hospitality add a lot of jobs, and so that was an important part of it. I'm sorry, this whole thing is just like, there we go. We saw leisure and hospitality adding a bunch of jobs here, about 47,000. Manufacturing lost about 8,000. Federal government, there were 2,000 jobs added there. That's essentially unchanged. When you look at the federal government jobs, you're down 9% since January, more than 9%. So you can see that the government losing jobs, that is on purpose, that is DOGE, that is the administration trying to slim down the federal government. Usually federal government jobs are seen as kind of a shock absorber. When the economy gets bad, you always have sort of that shock absorber of federal jobs that are decently paid, but those are going away.
Christine, we know the next Federal Reserve meeting coming up at the end of this month. Keeping this information in mind and everything else we've seen recently, what are the expectations?
I think hope these numbers justify the Fed cutting rates when it met last time, because they are concerned about a job market that is cooling. And again, I showed you that chart that this is the coolest job creation, and not cool in a good way, since the Great Recession. And if you strip out, you know, the volatility of the COVID era, so that is really something to note here. We had several years of just boffo job creation. Just for your perspective, in 2024. You know, the year before last, you had 2.2 million jobs created. Now you have, last year, 584,000 jobs created. Just put that in perspective. That is a lot slower job creation than we'd seen in 2024, 2023, and 2021.
All right. Christine Romans, thank you so much.
Welcome. Coming up, are cigarettes back in the national conversation?
Yeah, when we come back, smoking's cultural comeback, popping up everywhere, from streaming phenomenons to social media. Health experts worry this particular moment in American history might drive younger folks to find a light. We're going to explain the unhealthy trend next.
We're back with news that driverless taxis could soon be headed to a city near you, as several major companies announced plans to scale up self-driving vehicles. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung caught up with some of the major players in the industry at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas to see if 2026 will be the year of the robotaxi.
At the biggest tech conference of the year, it was autonomous vehicles driving the hype.
Someday, 1 billion cars on the road will all be autonomous.
As chipmaker NVIDIA announced a partnership with Mercedes to bring self-driving technology to your next car. But even for those not in the market for a new Mercedes, these companies are on the way this year, racing to take you from place to place. The biggest player by far, Waymo, already operational in 5 U.S. cities, with plans to expand to over 20 more here and abroad in 2026. But new players with big names are revving up.
Nobody's ever built a vehicle with this kind of experience from scratch.
As Uber teams up with car maker Lucid and software company Nuro to debut a brand new robotaxi they're branding the first premium option.
Tell me about what makes this vehicle so unique. This has actually been designed from the ground up to be a robotaxi experience, thinking about the wear and tear, legroom inside the cabins.
The new vehicle will start roaming the streets of San Francisco this year. Uber telling us they're not behind in the game.
Where do you see the competitive landscape right now? Whether you want a human driver or an autonomous vehicle, Uber wants to be able to be the network that makes that happen.
Amazon backed Zoox, which we checked out last year.
It looks like a carriage.
Also planning an expansion from San Francisco and Vegas to Miami and Austin.
This year, we're really going to be scaling that up and going commercial. We're not the first company to bring robotaxis to the public. But we are the first company to bring purpose-built robotaxis to the public.
And Elon Musk promising to mass-produce the so-called cybercab in the spring.
There's no steering wheel or pedals.
Still, consumers remain skeptical. A recent survey from AAA finding that 6 in 10 U.S. drivers are afraid to ride in self-driving cars.
They really have to convince consumers in particular to feel comfortable and safe, and that it can work in busy cities, that it can work in suburbs, all the same places that a regular car can.
And there have been other bumps in the road. Waymo's freezing during a power outage in San Francisco and caught not stopping for school buses in Austin. The company says the safety of the communities where we operate is paramount, as a report it issued claims that compared to humans, Waymo's had 90% fewer crashes with serious injuries or worse. Competitors also insisting safety is top priority.
Do you feel like you have enough data to kind of say right now, with this product, this will be safer than a human driver? We actually started on-road autonomous testing for the first time ever for this exact vehicle in December, for the very reason that you're bringing up, is that we want to be confident that it's ready for prime time.
All right, Brian Chung, thanks for that.
Shifting gears now for a look at why Meta is going nuclear.
NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has our Money Minute. Emily, good morning.
Hey guys, good morning. That's right. Meta says it has lockdown agreements with 3 nuclear power providers, Vistra, TerraPower, and Oklo. The tech giant says these deals will help the company secure long-term power as AI and data centers drive a surge in electricity demand. Meta says these projects are expected to provide thousands of jobs and support up to 6.6 gigawatts of nuclear power by 2035. And General Motors is taking a multi-billion-dollar hit as it sharply scales back its EV ambitions. GM says it will book a $6 billion charge tied to shrinking its money-losing EV business, citing slower U.S. demand after Washington moved to roll back policies that supported EV sales. The automaker says it has cut EV production and is shifting investment to more profitable vehicles like big trucks and SUVs. And a late-night rush to Netflix left Stranger Things fans disappointed and briefly broke the internet. According to Down Detector, more than 1,200 users reported outages on Netflix on Wednesday after fans flooded the platform searching for a rumored secret episode. That was 1 week after its series finale aired. The frenzy was created by people claiming that the finale was so bad that there must be another ending to close the pot. So people really searching for something that obviously wasn't there. But good news for all those fans is that a documentary is coming out on the 12th.
Well, there you go.
I saw a lot of people posting like, how did you all scam me into thinking there was going to be another episode? So crazy.
It's hard to do a final episode of something.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is. It's
Definitely.
true. You can't make everybody happy. Thanks, Emily. Coming up, it's finally Friday, and that can only mean one thing here on Morning News Now.
When we come back, we're going to punch your ticket to Tinseltown with a full rundown of the latest and greatest in the world of entertainment. It's everything you simply can't miss next. Finally this hour, Friday, which means it's time for your weekly can't miss list.
Now we're going to take a look at all the movies, shows, and music that you need to see and hear this weekend.
And for a look at what we can't miss, let's bring in David Correa. He is an entertainment correspondent and host of the Husbanter podcast. David, good to have you with us. So
Happy Friday.
We're going to start with a talker. It is called Primate, and it is obviously about a pet chip that just starts killing people. And folks are reacting online, and you've seen it.
It is a wild one, to say the least. I mean, you could say I saw it. I did go to a screener, but I had my hands over my eyes. It is a rabid chimpanzee that goes on a killing spree. It's a slasher-style movie starring a chimpanzee. And they take it very seriously, but it's super, super intense. It stars Johnny Sequoia, who folks may remember. She plays Lucy from Dexter New Blood, and Troy Katsura from Coda. So good casting, but really intense and doesn't, like you said, doesn't sound real. But
he has an Oscar.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. I feel like this could maybe end up being one of those like hits like Megan, though, where it's almost like, you know what I'm saying? Like
yes, that's exactly what
a group of people become obsessed with it. Anyway, I'm not sure I'll be seeing that. Okay, next is Greenland 2. This was kind of like this sleeper hit back in 2020 with Gerard Butler, but this is already being said that this is a must-see movie this year.
Yes, I mean, well, if Gerard Butler is around, I will feel safe in an apocalypse. He got them to Greenland in 2020 into a bunker. They built a community. Things over 5 years later are not looking so well, and so now they are migrating to find a new home. And they are crossing rope bridges. It's very intense, but so good. It's like if you like an apocalyptic movie, this is the one to see.
And not based on real modern Greenland-related events right now.
Correct.
Totally
Yeah.
different. All right, let's get to a film inspired by true events called I Was a Stranger, about people trying to flee Syria. This one does look intense.
This one is intense. We're keeping it deep this Friday morning. It is based on true stories, but driven through these fictional characters. So a Syrian doctor tries to escape Aleppo with her daughter, comes across all these strangers, their lives cross. I mean, when you're thinking about that refugee crisis, 2011 to 2024, 14 million people displaced. And this is really driven through the narrative of and themes of empathy and survival and community. It's beautifully done and definitely something you should see, and it's in theaters now.
Great. Okay, if we want to stream at home, I'm really excited about this, the second season of The Pit.
Yes.
Oh, just incredible, where it's like the whole season is one shift,
Yep.
which sounds difficult to understand if you haven't seen it, but it just works so well.
It works so well, and every episode is approximately an hour in their day. And thank you so much for giving us 15 episodes, because I'm so tired of these short series.
I agree. I'm like, I want more.
I want more. And there's a reason they get 10 million views per episode, because it's so good. Noah Wiley's walked away with so many awards and nominations. It's out now every Thursday, one episode out now. I can't wait for the rest of the show to come out.
Big Emmy winner this past year. Speaking of streaming, if you are into kilts and treachery, The Traitors.
Yes,
it's back.
Yes, we're lightening it up. I'm so happy. This is my favorite show. I stayed up late last night, got no sleep.
Oh, so you're done?
3 episodes. Okay. 3 episodes are out.
Okay.
I'm going to try not to say too much because I could give things away, but there is a major twist this season, like a major change to the show.
Oh.
So if you haven't tuned in, 3 episodes out now on Peacock right now, and then new episodes every Thursday.
I'm excited to see, obviously, everybody knows, yada, 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 Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, but Donna Kelce is like such a funny woman to me in the way that like she is in interviews and stuff. To see her be like live like this, I'm very excited.
I know
about.
she's America's mom, but Donna Kelce.
Is she treacherous?
I don't know.
I knew that was going to be something to
We'll
watch.
say she's playing a game.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Okay, quickly, we do have something to listen to. Bruno Mars.
Yes, after 10 years, he's finally putting out a new solo project. Yes, he's had a couple projects with other artists like Lady Gaga and Rosé. He had Silk Sonic, but he is back with a new song, I Just Might, from his new album coming out in February.
Is this a new music video for it, too?
No, this is from Silk Sonic.
Okay.
But The Romantic is the album coming out February 27th. And he's going on a global stadium tour.
Wow.
Starting in April.
Okay.
Tickets go on sale in mid-January, January 14th.
David, thank you. A lot to pack in there today. Happy Friday.
Happy
Thanks for being
Friday.
here.
That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.